So I was in a bind, and early one Sunday morning, I was at the computer as usual, and I typed in my password, HELP. And then this happened. I felt somebody on my shoulder. And my wife said to me, "Stephen, who are you writing to? Stephen, are you having an affair? Stephen, with how many men?" H-E-L-P. And it was about this time that I noticed that I had stopped smiling. And I looked over at M, and I noticed that she had stopped smiling too. I mean, of course she knew. The title of her mother's book came from her. "Goodbye, I love you" were the last words she ever said to her father before he died of AIDS. And so that's when I cracked, at age 30. But to show Emily that I was repentant, I turned myself in. And I remember on the day of my church trial, checking in with the secretary at the desk, and she was behind glass. And it just made me feel so damn clinical. You know? And so they usher me into this room, and they plop me down, and Mr. Secretary reads the charge. Homosexuality. You know, I was surprised they even used the word. So you know what? I told them everything. I spoke my truth. And then the questions started. What was my most spiritual experience? Oh, that's easy, my wedding day. I mean, standing at that altar with Emily at my side. My God, what a sacrifice she was making. I mean, I cried like a little girl throughout the whole ceremony. And then, had I ever had sex with a minor? No, I'm into doctors and lawyers, not kids. And I said no. And then, had I ever sexually abused my son? My son. You know, I was as good of a father as anyone else in that room. I mean, did they ask that question to straight men? Did they ask them if they've ever sexually abused their daughters? No, I looked them straight in the eye and I said, no. And so they then asked me to leave the room so that they could pray. Pray! And they brought me back in 10 minutes when they decided to excommunicate me. And you know, as I left the building, I held on to the doorknob because I tried so hard. And when I took my hand off, I knew it was over. Goodbye. I loved you. You know, I don't really remember all that happened that day, but I do remember how I felt. And I wasn't expecting to feel this way, because their voices just faded out. And this feeling, finally, of just peace washed over me, and another voice faded in, and it was finally mine. Stephen, I know who you are, and you are so much bigger than any of this. And you know, for the first time in a really long time, I smiled. I smiled, and it was my smile. My real smile.